Welcome to Today Matters, our short devotional in the Word of God. How many of you enjoy receiving encouragement? We all need encouragement from time to time. Encouragement is the act of giving hope or a promise. We've all seen the famous coaches or leaders give powerful speeches to their teams, getting them fired up at halftime or before a big challenge. Encouragement pushes people to keep going, to lift up their heads and find hope in each and every situation. Now, the Bible is very clear that we are to encourage one another. There are tons of verses that tell us to lift each other up. And if you look at the early church in the book of Acts, you'll read that they spent a lot of time encouraging one another as they met together and grew their community of believers. I love how the writer of Hebrews puts it in chapter 10. We must hold tightly to the hope that we say is ours. After all, we can trust the one who made the agreement with us. We should keep on encouraging each other to be thoughtful and to do helpful things. Some people have gotten out of the habit of meeting for worship, but we must not do that. We should keep on encouraging each other, especially since you know that the day of the Lord's coming is getting closer. So today, I want to give you a plan to become a better encourager. To start, begin by encouraging yourself. Do this by reading and hearing the Word of God. When you look for God's promises, they're everywhere. 2, choose to believe these promises are true. And 3, choose to act on these promises. For example, let's say you're reading the book of Matthew and you read the following verse from Matthew 11. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you'll find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Man, write that promise down. Maybe you or someone you know is going through a tough time and they're burnt out. Encourage them to rely on God, and God will help them. Or maybe you're reading in the book of John. Look at the promise found in chapter 14, verse 27. Peace I leave with you. My peace I give to you. I do not give you as the world gives. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and do not be afraid. I bet there are a ton of people around you that could really be encouraged to know that they can find peace in knowing God, that they don't have to be afraid of what's going on in their life. By encouraging them with these promises found in the Word of God, you can make a huge impact on their life. I recently came across this story of 2 men who were seriously ill. They occupied the same room in the hospital. One of them was lying in the bed near the window, the only window in their room. Every day he was allowed to spend some time sitting up in his bed to help drain the fluid from his lungs. The other man was forced, however, to spend his days flat on his back. They talked about their lives, their families, their jobs, and vacations. And every time when the first man was sitting by the window, he described in detail all that he saw outside the window. His roommate always looked forward to those moments when his world was broadened and brightened up by the world outside. Amazing views of a park with a beautiful lake could be seen from the window of their room. Children delightfully playing among ducks and swans, couples walking arm in arm among colorful flowers, stunned by the city that could be seen. When the man by the window was thoroughly describing what was happening outside the window, his roommate would close his eyes and imagine all the beautiful scenes of life that were being told to him. Well, one night, the man whose bed was near the window, he died peacefully in his sleep, and his roommate was super sad. And after some time, when the nurse came to visit him, he asked if he could be moved next to the window. The nurse agreed and kindly made the switch. And when she left, the man slowly and painfully propped himself up on one elbow and took a look outside of the world around him. And he was stunned. The window faced a blank wall. When the nurse came back to visit him the next time, he told her about the beautiful things outside the window that his roommate had described to him. And the nurse replied that his roommate was a blind man. She said, probably he was just trying to encourage you. You see, you may never know the impact that your encouragement might have for someone else. I challenge you to make encouraging someone a daily task or routine. For some of us, that might be really easy. And for others, this may be a real challenge. You might need to ask God to show you who to encourage. Some of you know exactly the person you need to call or text right now. Let's be a body of believers that regularly and consistently encourages one another, especially today, because today matters.